So go ahead and lay down on your belly. And I'm gonna try to attempt to hop on my mat, but also keep an eye on. Now, it might feel good to put a little padding under your hips. So if you have a blanket or a pillow that you want to put there, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and fold my blanket. And then just come to lay down on your belly and get comfortable. And we'll start like this, so you can just let your feet kind of splay out to the side if that feels good. And you can rest your forehead on your forearms, or you can turn your head to the side. Or if you have another prop you want to put under your forehead, that's fine too. And then just begin to settle in. And just give yourself the next few minutes to just feel the weight of your body resting on the ground. Feel the whole front of your body, and feel where the whole front of your body connects to the ground beneath you. And just feel the ground holding the weight of your body. And then see if you can connect to the sensation or the feeling of your body softening and releasing tension, so that the ground is holding you, not your muscles. There's no gripping. There's no tightening. You're just allowing your body to be heavy and soft. We'll take just about 10 more breaths here. So if you're just joining in, we're starting on the belly. I have a little bit of padding under my hips. So if you have a blanket or a pillow that you want to put there, that might feel nice. Yeah. Just a few more breaths. And then we're going to stay on the belly, but shift the position. So as easily as you can, we're just going to draw the right knee out to the side. So it's just external rotation of the right hip. The right inner thigh is resting on the ground, okay, or moving in that direction. Okay, so it's like a half frog. The left leg is still straight. Then we just draw the right knee out to the side. Don't worry about it being a really deep sensation. It might be really subtle, and just go with that. Let it be exactly where it is. Let the right thigh be heavy. And just allow gravity to help you here. If you need a little padding under your right knee or ankle, again, use whatever you have to make yourself comfortable here. So it's just a real gentle opening, the right inner thigh. See if you can shift your attention to the muscles surrounding the upper thigh and the glute, and see if you can soften them. Okay, less gripping, less work, more letting go. Just allowing the shape of this posture to be enough. You can continue this shape with your upper body resting. Or if you want, you could try coming on your elbows. And this is just going to shift the stretch a little bit more upwards. Okay, so instead of just being right inner thigh, it's going to move into the lower belly, the lower back. Okay, if you bring yourself up and it causes strain in the lower back, you could try dropping the head down, or you could just return back down. So in all honesty, that brought a little bit of strain in my lower back, so I'm going to come back down. And we'll just take about 5 more breaths in whichever variation you've landed in. Okay, slowly slide your right leg back next to your left. And then draw the left leg out to the side. So just switching sides. Oops. Noticing that one side might feel different than the other. So for me, my left inner thigh, or rather my left inside of my left knee needs a little padding. So I'm just going to shift my blanket to help my knee out. And then just settle back in. Again, bring your attention to the upper thigh. So right around the hip joint, top of the leg, the glute, that whole space. And just see if you're working a little bit harder than you need to. This doesn't have to feel like anything. It's just a shape that we're landing in and breathing in for a couple of minutes. Body's resting on the ground with just the left knee opening up, inner thigh, outer hip. You can stay with your upper body resting, or you could try coming onto your elbows like a Sphinx pose. And see how that feels. So on this side for me, it actually doesn't bother my lower back. So I'm gonna try this. So when you show up for your practice, see if you can bring all of your parts with you. Parts that feel good, the parts that feel not so good. Bring yourself as a whole and drop in as is. There's no good, there's no bad. It's just you moving through some shapes in your body, consciously being aware of sensation and breath. Let's take about 5 more breaths here. And when you're ready, start to lower your upper body if you're lifted. Draw the left knee back in. And it might even feel good to bend the knees now and just, maybe windshield wiper them a little bit, loosen the lower back. And then when you feel ready, we're going to slide back the hands and knees. So taking your time. And for me, I'm going to spread my blanket out so that it can pad my knees. So if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. And then just take a couple of intuitive cat and cow stretches. You might want to do a little bit of rocking forward and back if that feels good. Maybe a little bit of side to side with the hips. Just about 3 more cycles of intuitive movement on your hands and knees. And then when you're ready, we're going to head into child's pose. And I'm going to use my blocks under my forearms. This can be forearms or triceps. And it's just elevating my arms a little bit. And then I'm letting my head drop between, my forehead is resting on the ground, and that's just opening my upper arms, my shoulders a little bit. So you can really adjust the intensity here. The higher your blocks, the more intense the stretch. Okay, if it feels like too much sensation, You don't have to do it at all. You can just come into child's pose. So it's really up to you how much intensity you need. Another variation, it could be bending the elbows, and bringing the hands up. So it really depends on what you need. I'm carrying a lot of tension in my shoulders and neck lately, so I'm gonna dial it up a little bit for myself, but it's really important for you to do what you need. And then pay attention as you land in this posture. And just be cognizant that you might need to adjust. So we like to hold in postures for a while, but that doesn't mean we hold them if we're in pain. So it's okay to ease out and ease back in. It's okay to back off. It's okay to make a modification. Just opening the shoulders, the triceps, the upper back, lengthening the spine. Let's land here just about 5 more slow breaths. And then really slowly, really mindfully, to bring yourself up and out. And decide what might feel good here. So maybe you want to come back to hands and knees. Maybe you want to bring the knees together and tuck the arms behind you in like a little seed pose. This is really up to you. Maybe you want to do a little bit of both, or interlace your hands behind your back. And we're going to head back to hands and knees. And from here, we're going to thread the needle. So again, there's always options. I'm going to start by threading my left arm under my right. You can stay here with your hips lifted, or if you want to do this from more of a child's pose, you could sit your back on your heels. Okay, so when I do that, I need a little bit of support for my head. Okay, but I'll be honest with you, I actually prefer to keep my hips lifted in this, so that's where I'm going to head. But you can just, you do you, right? So everybody's body is different. So decide what variation of thread the needle works for you today. And then wherever you land, Draw your attention to the space between the shoulder blades. And see if you can send your breath there. Just breathing in and out into the space between the shoulder blades. Let's take just a few more breaths on this side. And then again, really slowly, really mindfully, start to bring yourself back to all fours. And take a little time to come back to neutral. So any kind of intuitive movement here, maybe circling the hips, maybe cat and cow, maybe child's pose. And then when you're ready, we'll set up for threading the needle on the other side. So right arm threads under left. Again, you decide if the hips stay lifted or if they lower back. And just settle into that sweet spot where it feels just right to stay and observe the opening between the shoulder blades, the twist at the rib cage. And stretch along the back of the shoulder. The breath moving in and out. See if you can assess whether or not you are pushing too hard. Do you need to ease off a little bit? So just being mindful of your attention. We'll be here about another 5 slow breaths. Really slowly ease your way back to hands and knees. Take your time. Notice what comes up as you slowly come out. Give yourself a little bit of time to make any movements that you need to feel connected, to feel back into your body. When you're ready, let's come into downward facing dog just for a couple of breaths. Just lengthen out the back of the body. So rooting down through your hands, lengthening your spine. So we got into the shoulders and the upper back quite a bit already. Notice what that feels like as you come to down dog. So I'm noticing now that, my lower half is really tight. Back of my legs. We're going to move into that area now. So take your gaze up towards your hands and slowly walk your feet forward. You can keep your blanket there if you're using it. You may want it later. But we're going to come into a standing forward fold. So feet are at least hip width, if not wider. Knees bent or at least softened. And I'm going to stack my blocks right in front of my feet. And I'm going to rest my forearms there. Okay, so you don't have to have that prop. If you don't have blocks and you want something to support yourself on, you could use the seat of a chair. It's a really nice option. Or a wall, or a couch, or a bed. Whatever you have handy. Or you can just drape your upper body forward and just land in your standing forward fold. Let your head hang so that the crown of your head reflects the ground. And let the weight of your head traction your spine. And then just shift your weight forward and back a little bit until you can settle right in the middle. Again, knees are soft. Head is heavy. Allowing yourself to get a really big back body release and an inversion all in one. Again, allowing your posture to evolve or change along the way is totally fine. Now the soles of the feet connecting to the earth, supporting your body. And keep that bend in your knees, but maybe just press into your feet a little bit and notice how that lengthens the back of the legs. Soften your mouth and your lips. Let's take just a few more breaths in our standing forward fold. And then from here, we're just going to begin to lift our spine halfway. So I'm using my blocks on the highest level and reaching the crown of my head forward. Okay, so this is really just about kind of leveling out all the blood that went down to our head so that we don't feel really dizzy. And then from here, I'm just gonna set my right foot back and lower my right knee to the ground. So I'm coming into a box stretch, which means my right hip is right above my right knee. And my left ankle is right under my left knee, okay? So my right leg is just for balance here. This isn't a lizard or a dragon stretch. This right leg is helping me balance. The stretch is going to be in the outside of the left hip. So I'm going to bring my blocks to the inside of my left foot. And then I'm going to start to fold my upper body forward. You could do this without the blocks by just placing your hands on the ground and letting your head hang. So it's a real softening in the upper body. Okay? And again, notice that your right leg is just helping you balance here. So the majority of sensation should be in the outside of the left hip. Okay, and then the longer we stay here, you might start to feel some sensation or stretch in the left side of your lower back. Head can hang. And then you can decide how much intention you want to bring to your left inner thigh. Okay, so sometimes we like to just let it like loosely open up. And sometimes we want to keep it drawing inward a little bit. And you can play around with that. See what resonates with you today. So no doubt this posture can intensify with time. So see where you can soften. See where you can breathe. And see if you can just be present with whatever arises. As we hang out here. Let's see if we can stay here about 5 more breaths. Allowing the whole back side of your left hip, your outer hip, your lower back. Allowing that connective tissue to soften and release. Really intense area to work with, at least for me. I can feel it in my inner thigh too, left side. One more deep breath here. And if you're folded forward, start to lift your upper body. And from here, we're going to move right into a straddle. So straightening the legs, turning to the side, so turning to the right. And then maybe you want to widen the legs. And maybe before you come into folding forward, it might feel good to bend one knee and then the other. And just kind of explore this area, this stretch. I'm gonna get my timer closer to me. Can't see. All right, we're good on time. Yeah. Yeah, so just bend the knees side to side a few times. And I think we're gonna return here after we do the other side, and then we'll add in a hold here. But for now, just a couple more bends, one knee and then the other. And then when you're ready, take your blocks, walk your hands toward your right foot, and now lower your left knee and shin down. Okay, so again, the left hip is now going to be over the left knee, and my right knee is stacked over my right ankle. So I've got that square shape with my legs. My hands are coming on my blocks on the inside of my right foot, and then I'm going to fold forward. Okay, so now the left leg is our balancing leg. That's helping us balance. It's not a worker, it's a supporter. And now all the action is in the outside of the right hip. Or maybe the inside of the right hip if it feels like mine. I'm definitely feeling it on the inner and the outer. Let your head hang. So in these long held hip openers or hip stretches, it can be really tempting to kind of zone out, take yourself away into some sort of story in your head. I know I'm certainly guilty of that. Let's see if you can bring yourself back. So in all honesty, the practice really isn't about being here all the time. It's about remembering to come back. Okay, so it's a practice. We're practicing being present, being awake in sometimes difficult positions or difficult sensations, so that we can be present and awake in our daily life. So bring your attention to that space in the outer right hip and the inner right hip, in your lower back. And breathe into it. Couple more breaths here. Where can you find more ease? Where can you be more present, more awake? One more slow breath in. One more slow breath out. Start to lift your upper body. And then go ahead and Straighten both the legs. And now we'll come back to our straddle. If you want to bend one knee and then the other a couple of times. And then from here, we're going to come into a hold. So decide what distance you want your legs to be. And start to fold your upper body forward. And just as we did in our standing forward fold at the top of the mat, you can use a support like your blocks, like a chair, like the side of your couch. Soften your knees just a little bit. And then see if you can find balance in your feet, front to back. Inner, outer. With your eyes closed, see if you can find that sweet spot right in the middle where you feel balanced here. And then really let your upper body just drip forward. We're going to stay here just about 5 more breaths, not too much longer. And after this posture, we're heading back onto our mat. And this is the last standing posture. As easily as you can. Again, just find a halfway lift, a place where you can level out a little bit. And then from here, we're just going to tuck into a little seed, okay, like a little child's pose. So the knees will come down. You can decide if you want your knees together or apart. I'm going to take my legs together and I'm just going to tuck back, bring my arms back. And you might even want to rest your head on a block or a pillow so that you can really feel a little bit of pressure on your forehead, your third eye. Sometimes I like to even tuck my wrist between my thighs and the back of my ankle and give myself a little compression. Totally up to you though. My block is feeling a little too high. I'm going to try my bolster instead. And just fold yourself up here. Feel this compression for about a minute. Good. Just a couple more breaths.
When you're ready, we're gonna transition onto our back. We're gonna transition to a supported bridge pose. So a block or a pillow or a bolster under the hips. Okay. So you can take the lowest level, or you want to go up a little bit higher. So we did a lot of that outer and inner thigh work, and now we're opening up the hip flexors. We did a lot of folding forward. So a lot of flexion in the hip flexors, so it might feel kind of good to open them up, to let them release, to let them extend. So it should feel like a really nice counter to a lot of the work that we did in the hips. So just feel the soles of the feet resting on the ground. Front of the thighs, front of the hips. Opening up. Feel the upper back resting. Head is heavy. Arms resting comfortably. It might feel nice to close your eyes and just start to let yourself sink in. Let yourself land here. And stay here just about another minute. And then gently begin to push your feet into the ground, just enough to lift your hips so that you can remove your prop. And then let your lower back reconnect with the ground. Go ahead and draw your knees in toward your chest and just gently and loosely circle the knees, massage out the lower back. And then let the feet come to the ground, knees bent. And I'm going to cross my right thigh all the way on top of my left. And then lift your hips, shift them to the right, and drop the knees over to the left. So if this variation of spinal twist feels too intense, if it's too much to have that leg weighted on top, you're just going to take a different spinal twist of your choice. You can stack your knees, you can just do one leg. Another option is to put a little bit of, put something under your legs. So when I put my block under my right knee, it just gives it a little bit of lift and it's not so intense. Okay, so spinal twist, really just going for a spinal twist here, and that can be any variation. Breathe into your side body. We'll take just a few more breaths in this twist. If your legs are crossed, you can uncross them and then bring yourself back onto your back. And if you need a little something to bring you back to neutral, maybe a little windshield wiper, or maybe just dropping knees open, soles of the feet together for a couple of breaths. A little recline bound angle might feel kind of good. And then we'll set up for spinal twist on the other side. So if you want, you could cross the left thigh on top of the right, shift the hips to the left, and let the knees drop over to the right. So I'm using my blanket under my thigh, or under my legs, my knee, to give it a little more support, a little bit of lift. And then extend the left arm out to the side, or like a cactus. And just breathe into the left side of the body. At any point, this twist feels like too much, you can adjust it or change it. Remember, we're looking for that sweet spot, that place where it's just right. A few more breaths here. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. And slowly come onto your back again. And now's the time to think about if there's anything else you need to do to prepare yourself to come into your final posture. And then go ahead and set yourself up. Okay, so traditional Shavasana is always an option. Any restorative or supported posture or seated meditation. So decide what you need. And set yourself up. And we will take about 2 minutes in stillness. So in whatever posture that you've chosen, just feel your body start to settle in. And invite your whole self to be present. As your body settles into stillness, invite your mind and consciously place your mind on the feeling, on the sensation of your body breathing. You don't need to manipulate anything, just consciously place your mind on your breath. Be here now. In the next couple of breaths, allow your breath to deepen. Begin to invite just a little bit of movement back into your body. When you feel ready, you can meet me back in a seated position to complete your practice. We finish our class together by bringing our hands together at our heart. And together we fold forward, sealing in your yoga practice. Namaste.